Out of this disturbing story, we're learning horrific new details tonight about a 7-year-old boy who was killed inside an Oakley home.
That's right. The little boy's mother, 38-year-old Caitlin Evans, is one of 3 women charged with his murder. We do need to warn you, the details about his abuse are very disturbing.
Yeah, William Evans was found in a closet, bound and duct taped. Investigators say they believe he'd been tortured. He was even badly burned, and there were signs he'd been choked and held underwater.
Karen Johnson has been digging into the details of the investigation and who the suspects are. But we begin with team coverage with WLWT News 5 anchor Cherie Palello, who just sat down with Williams's grandparents and aunt this afternoon. Cherie.
Well, good evening to you. William's grandparents and aunt called it a house of horrors. Mike and Tina Evans, along with their other daughter, Allison, sat down with me this afternoon. They just adored this little boy, William. He spent every Friday and most Saturdays with his grandma and grandpa. But about 6 weeks ago, when William told them that he didn't want to go back home, everything immediately changed. They say their daughter Caitlin and her partners, who also co-parented William, refused to let them see him. So they visited William one time about 4 weeks ago. They say William had a little bruise on his shoulder, but that was really it. And that was the last time they saw him. But they were so concerned, both sets of grandparents on the father's side too, met with an attorney this Wednesday, even hired a private investigator just to put eyes on William and Caitlin. The Evans were very afraid both of them were being abused. Mike Evans even rented a car this week to stake out the house yesterday. But this is what he found when he pulled up.
When I got to the house yesterday about 3:30, there was police tape everywhere and police cars. And a detective came over and told us the situation. And so he said, William died. And I said, well, what about Caitlin? And he said, she's downtown being questioned.
When they say William's dead, what is going through your mind?
I'd had 4 hours to come to the realization that might be the case, but it's just like somebody sucks the wind out of you.
How did you find out about your little grandson?
And he called here and said, don't go to work. Something terrible's happened here. He didn't know which one was gone. And then when he told us, we just collapsed, and I felt like chill in my whole body, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe this could happen to my William.
As you can imagine, the Evans are just crushed. They say that if they thought William was being abused at all, they would have gone to police immediately themselves. Now they just want people to know who their grandson was, that he was on the spectrum, but just for sensory issues. He was sweet and kind and smart and funny. He loved strawberry ice cream from UDF and noodles and cheese from Skyline. We're going to have much more on that tonight, only here on Channel 5 at 6 o'clock. Cherie Palello, WLWT News 5.
As William's grandparents mourn an unimaginable loss, 3 adults are facing murder charges in his death.
So in court today, prosecutors described months of alleged abuse, and defense attorneys are already challenging who caused his death. WLWT News 5 investigative reporter Karen Johnson is live in Oakley for us with more on the case against each defendant. Karen.
Yeah, Chris, investigators say this was a co-parenting situation that was taking place here at this apartment in Oakley. Investigators say all 3, William's mother and her 2 partners, were responsible for his care. Now they are all charged with murder.
By 1, 3 defendants stood before a judge. They're accused of murdering William Evans. The 7-year-old's biological mother, 38-year-old Caitlin Evans, and her 2 partners, 23-year-old Nessa Keeney and 33-year-old Kirby Rankin.
In 21 years of law enforcement experience, this was probably one of the most disturbing examples of child abuse that I've witnessed in my career.
Yesterday afternoon, Cincinnati police were called to this Madison Road apartment where they found William dead in a closet, bound and duct taped.
We believe that there was, for the lack of a better term, some water torture involved. But again, we believe the victim was choked underwater, held underwater for a prolonged period of time. There was some burn torture involved.
William's mother stood with her head down as her attorney pointed the finger at someone else.
What the evidence is going to show is another individual who has been charged with this crime caused the death of this child, not Miss Evans.
Keeney's attorney also shifted blame while Rankin's lawyer cited mental health issues. Beyond the competing defense claims, there was grief of William's other biological parent, who said William was kept away for 9 months.
William was my life, and I trusted you to care for him. They kept him from me for the past 9 months.
All right.
Over lies and...
All right, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And investigators say this abuse had been going on for the last 2 months. They stressed this is an ongoing investigation and more charges could follow. All 3 defendants right now are being held on $1 million bond each. Reporting live tonight in Oakley, Karen Johnson, WLWT News 5.
I want to get to breaking details here at noon in the murder case of a 7-year-old boy who was found dead inside an Oakley apartment. 3 people are now accused in his death, and investigators have been revealing chilling new details and allegations in court. We do want to warn you, these are very tough to hear. WLWT News 5's Megan Mitchell has what investigators are saying about this case. Megan.
Yeah, so Kelly, a Cincinnati detective said that this is one of the most disturbing child abuse cases he has ever seen. We revealed the pictures and the names in our morning show as breaking news, but the details that you are about to hear are difficult and they are very disturbing. Prosecutors say the 7-year-old suffered abuse for more than 2 months before his death on Thursday, telling the court all 3 defendants lived together in the Madison Avenue apartment and shared responsibility for caring for this child. They say that the boy was kept so isolated, neighbors didn't even know that a child lived inside the home. The officer who did speak in court told the court that the child suffered injuries consistent with repeated beatings. He was held underwater, suffered burns, and was found restrained with duct tape.
In my 21 years of law enforcement experience, this was probably one of the most disturbing examples of child abuse that I've witnessed in my career. This obviously remains an ongoing investigation. We anticipate additional charges pursuant to autopsy results and further interviews that we're conducting.
So all 3 of these women, Caitlin Evans, Nessa Keeney, and Kirby Rankin, pled not guilty in court. A judge set their bonds at $1.1 million on that murder charge and the child endangerment charge for each one of these.
What's the address of your emergency?
Brookwood Emergency Department. We have somebody that came in and kind of just dropped herself on the floor. She's barefoot. She's saying that her partner's trying to kill her, that they took her son.
And that 911 call made just hours before police discovered 7-year-old William Evans-Ellis dead in his home Thursday. We do want to warn you, the details of this story, they are disturbing.
Who took her son?
Who? Kirby Rankin is the name she gave me.
Taken by like JFS?
No, she's saying that he's hiding him up in the attic.
Police later found William in a closet, bound in duct tape with clear signs he had been abused and tortured. Rankin, William's mother, Caitlin Evans, and Nessa Keeney are now charged with he had been abused and tortured. Months before 7-year-old William Evans-Ellis was killed, a Butler County woman says that she urged authorities to pursue felony charges against Kirby Rankin. Well, tonight, WLWT Investigates examines that earlier case and the questions it's now raising. WLWT News 5's Karen Johnson joins us now with the details and a video showing the assault. Karen.
Oh, good evening, Aaron. 7 months before Kirby Rankin was arrested for the murder of 7-year-old William here in Hamilton County, Rankin spent time in the Butler County Jail for assaulting a woman and pulling a gun in the Jungle Gyms parking lot.
It began as Amy Bunnell pulled into a crowded Jungle Gyms parking lot in Fairfield last January. Security and dash camera video show 3 adults crossing in front of her SUV. Kirby Rankin, Nessa Keeney, and Caitlin Evans, who was carrying her 7-year-old son, William.
You can tell my wife's driving right past them. She stops.
Amy says Rankin accused her of trying to hit them.
I could feel him pounding and yelling behind me, getting closer. I said, what do you want from me? And he said that he had a gun and that he would shoot me. And I was bewildered and said, what? Why would you shoot me? He shoved me across the parking lot and I twisted my knee.
Amy says the confrontation escalated.
He just started screaming and yelling at me again. I can't even remember what he was saying, and he punched me.
Good Samaritans rushed over. Amy says Rankin then displayed a gun and threatened the entire group. These still photographs show Rankin holding what appears to be a firearm. Amy says the attack left her with fractured teeth, a concussion, a neck injury, and a torn meniscus. Rankin was charged with misdemeanor assault and aggravated menacing. Amy and her husband Lance Bunnell, a retired law enforcement captain, say they repeatedly asked that the case be presented to a grand jury for possible felony charges.
I asked to go to grand jury, they refused. I kept being quoted that since she was only hit one time, it wasn't a felony, which is absolutely absurd.
Amy says she also explicitly warned authorities that Rankin was violent, had a gun, and lived with a young child. Now that child, 7-year-old William, is dead, and Rankin is among the 3 accused of murdering him. And Rankin has since pleaded guilty to the misdemeanor charges, but sentencing hasn't happened yet. That sentencing is scheduled for next month up in Butler County. Now, tomorrow we're going to do a lot more digging into this story once the prosecutor's office opens, the courts open, Fairfield Police, and we're going to try and find out why it wasn't presented to a grand jury and who exactly made that decision. Reporting live downtown tonight, Karen Johnson, WLWT News 5.
So many disturbing details there. Thank you so much, Karen. And we do know the details of this case. They are hard to hear. To find our complete coverage of this case, you can scan this QR code, which will take you to the story on WLWT.com. You can also find resources to report any suspected child abuse or neglect and links to local child service agencies.